She knew. The whole time, she knew. While Daniel was pouring his heart out about the impossible judge ruining his case, Eleanor sat there smiling, nodding, asking questions. And now she was about to decide if his client lived or died behind bars. Game over? Maybe. Or maybe this was exactly what justice looked like. Before we begin, like, comment, share, subscribe and turn on notifications so when we drop a new video, you will be the first to see it. The hum of a flickering desk lamp is the only sound in Daniel Foster's tiny office. The walls are lined with boxes of case files, ghosts of battles fought and lost. It's nearly midnight, and the air smells of burnt coffee and wet paper. Daniel sits hunched over his desk, tie loosened, dark circles beneath his eyes. His phone vibrates once, another ignored call from his landlord. He doesn't even look up. Before him lies the file that's devoured 3 years of his life. James Rivera, convicted of murder 8 years ago. The system calls him guilty. Daniel calls him the only man who still believes he can make things right. He flips through the latest report, hands trembling. A witness has recanted. A security camera once labeled malfunctioning suddenly reappears in police archives. For the first time in years, the cracks in the wall of injustice are visible. But time isn't on his side. His boss's voice still echoes from that afternoon's meeting. Cold, clipped, final. If this appeal doesn't land, we're done funding the case, and you, Daniel, might want to start packing up. The words sting deeper than he'll admit. He's not just fighting for James Rivera. He's fighting for himself, for every late night, every lost relationship, every piece of his soul the system has chewed through. He rubs his eyes, staring at the stack of evidence, feeling the crushing weight of purpose turning into exhaustion. The office clock ticks louder, faster, as if mocking him. Then, in the silence, something inside him breaks. He gathers his papers, shuts off the light, and walks out into the rain. Outside, the city feels heavy, rain pouring in sheets, streetlights painting gold halos on the slick pavement. Daniel pulls his coat tight as he trudges home, his thoughts a blur of what IFS and what now. Then, halfway up the cracked steps to his apartment building, he freezes. An elderly woman lies sprawled on the concrete, grocery bags torn open, oranges rolling into the gutter. Her umbrella lies broken beside her, the rain soaking through her thin coat. Daniel's instincts kick in.
Huh?
Hey, are you all right? She looks up, dazed, eyes filled with both fear and gratitude. With gentle urgency, he helps her to her feet, collecting the groceries scattered across the wet ground. She winces as she tries to stand. I'm so sorry, she whispers. These stairs. I lost my balance. He steadies her arm. It's okay. Let's get you inside. They climb 2 flights of stairs, the sound of rain fading behind them. Inside, her small apartment is warm and softly lit, floral curtains, a ticking clock, the faint smell of chamomile tea. He helps her settle into an armchair. Thank you, young man. I'm Eleanor, she says, her voice calm but wise. You must live downstairs. I've seen you coming and going with all those papers. Daniel smiles for the first time all day. Yeah. I'm a lawyer, though lately it feels like I'm fighting a war I can't win. She studies him with quiet empathy. Wars worth fighting often feel that way. Her words land heavier than she probably intends. They talk for a few minutes, about the rain, about her old records, about small kindnesses in a hard world. Something in her tone soothes the noise in his head. When he finally stands to leave, she grips his hand lightly. You've got kind eyes, Daniel. The world could use more of that. He nods, half smiling. You take care of yourself, Eleanor. As he steps back into the rain, he feels lighter, as if the storm in his chest has eased, if only for a moment. Then, a single thought cuts through the calm. She knew his name. But he never told her. The days blur together in a rhythm of exhaustion and quiet ritual. Mornings in the courthouse, afternoons buried in paperwork, nights under the dim glow of his desk lamp. Yet, somewhere between the chaos, Daniel Foster finds a small island of calm, apartment 3B. Every few evenings, he stops by Eleanor's door with a carton of soup or a bag of groceries. At first, it's obligation. Then it becomes something else, relief. Eleanor welcomes him each time with that same warm, knowing smile. Her apartment feels like another world, records spinning soft jazz, books stacked high, and the faint scent of lemon tea. She listens when he talks, really listens, without judgment or interruption. One evening, as thunder murmurs outside, Daniel sits across from her at the kitchen table. "I found something," he says, flipping open his battered notebook. The detective on Rivera's case falsified parts of his report. There's a missing timeline, witness statements that don't match. But getting the court to reopen discovery? That's nearly impossible. Eleanor leans back, studying him carefully. "Then you'll have to make the impossible sound reasonable." He chuckles weakly. "You make it sound easy." "It never is," she replies, her eyes glinting with an intensity that surprises him. "But tell me, what does justice mean to you, Daniel?" He frowns. "Justice? It means the truth, I guess." "Truth isn't always justice," she says softly. "And justice isn't always truth. What if the system was designed to make you fail? Would you still believe in it?" Her question lingers like smoke in the air. He opens his mouth, then closes it again. For the first time, he doesn't have an answer. The weeks pass. Rain gives way to brittle winter sunlight. Daniel's case gains traction, and enemies. The prosecutor files motions to block his new evidence. The press starts sniffing around, hinting that he's chasing conspiracy theories. His boss warns him to tone it down if he values what's left of his career. Through it all, Eleanor becomes his quiet anchor. She listens as he vents about corrupt cops, lazy clerks, and a judge is heard described as ruthless, heartless, untouchable. "She sounds like someone who's forgotten mercy," he mutters one night. Eleanor arches an eyebrow. Or maybe she just carries the burden of too many false pleas. He stares at her, puzzled. "That's oddly specific." She smiles faintly. "I read too many court thrillers in my retirement. Old habits." They share a laugh, but something in her tone feels heavier than fiction. By mid-February, Daniel uncovers a critical lead, an internal memo showing that the detective ignored a second suspect. It could blow the case wide open. But to introduce it, he'll need the judge's permission to re-examine evidence sealed years ago. He knows the odds are slim. Still, for the first time in months, hope flickers. That night, he knocks on Eleanor's door, excitement breaking through his exhaustion. "If I can prove this memo's real, Rivera walks free." Eleanor looks up from her cup of tea, her expression unreadable. "Then make sure your argument is flawless. Judges don't forgive reckless hope." He laughs nervously. "You sound like you've been won." She smiles. "Hardly. I've just seen how power shapes people." Later that night, back in his apartment, Daniel replays the conversation in his head. Her phrasing. Her certainty. The way she sometimes challenges him as though she's testing something deeper. He glances toward the ceiling, to the floor above where her light still glows faintly. Who exactly is Eleanor Walsh? The morning light feels wrong, too bright, too sharp. Daniel Foster wakes before dawn, heart pounding like his already mid-verdict. His reflection in the bathroom mirror looks like a man both alive and dying at once. The appeal hearing, the moment 3 years have led to, is today. He forces down stale coffee, rehearsing his arguments under his breath. New evidence. Due process violations. Reasonable doubt. Each phrase feels thinner, hollower, as nerves tighten his chest. By the time he reaches the courthouse steps, the city hums with its indifferent rhythm. Journalists cluster near the entrance, flashes going off like tiny lightning bolts. Daniel straightens his tie, his briefcase slick in his trembling hand. Inside, the marble hallway swallows sound. His footsteps echo louder than his heartbeat. He passes clerks, attorneys, and guards, faces he's seen 100 times, but this morning every glance feels weighted. His co-counsel, Lydia greets him with a nervous smile. "You ready?" "As I'll ever be," he mutters. They push open the double doors to courtroom 7. And Daniel stops breathing. At the bench, beneath the carved seal of justice, sits Eleanor Walsh Starr, in full judicial robes. Her silver hair pinned back, her expression unreadable. The same gentle eyes that once smiled across a cup of tea now hold the solemn gravity of the law itself. For a moment, the world tilts. Lydia whispers, "Daniel? What's wrong?" But he can't answer. His mind is a storm. Eleanor. Judge Eleanor Walsh. The woman he'd helped from the rain. The woman who'd asked him, "What does justice mean to you?" She'd known. All along. He feels heat rising under his collar. Betrayal, confusion, disbelief colliding into one suffocating pulse. Every word he'd shared, every frustration, every strategy, she heard it all. Eleanor clears her throat. Court is now in session. Her voice is calm, measured, the voice of authority, not friendship. Daniel lowers his gaze, his jaw tightening. He can't let emotion show. But his hands tremble as he opens his file. Lydia leans closer. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." He forces a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Something like that. The hearing begins. The prosecutor speaks first, methodical, confident, dismantling Daniel's arguments before he even rises. Daniel barely listens. His thoughts keep circling the same unanswerable questions. Why didn't she tell me? Was it a test? A trap? Pity? When his turn finally comes, he stands, heart racing. "Your Honor," he begins, his voice steady but strained, "this case represents not just one man's life, but the integrity of the justice system itself." He glances up. Their eyes meet. For a heartbeat, something flickers behind her professionalism. Regret? Recognition? It's gone before he can name it. He presses on, words tumbling out on instinct. The evidence, the falsified reports, the missing footage, all of it. His argument burns with conviction, but beneath it simmers something raw. Betrayal masked as eloquence. Eleanor listens silently, taking notes, face carved in composure. When he finishes, she simply nods. "Thank you, counselor." Nothing more. Nothing less. As the court recesses, Lydia pulls him aside. "Daniel, what's going on? You're pale as a sheet." He exhales shakily. "That's my neighbor." "What?" "The judge. We've been talking for weeks." Lydia's face goes slack. "Daniel, that's a nightmare." He knows. He knows it more than anyone. He looks back toward the bench where Eleanor gathers her papers with quiet precision. The robe doesn't change her, it only reveals her. His pulse pounds as a terrible possibility takes shape. What if she didn't just listen to me? What if she planned this from the start? The courtroom feels colder today. The kind of cold that seeps under the skin, into the bones. Daniel Foster straightens his notes, but the pages blur before his eyes. Every breath echoes too loudly in the hollow chamber. He glances up at the bench. Judge Eleanor Walsh sits poised, composed, inscrutable. The same woman who once laughed softly over tea now studies him through the lens of law. No warmth. No history. Just the gravity of justice. Daniel swallows hard and begins. "Your Honor, new evidence has emerged that..." Objection. The prosecutor's voice slices through the air. "Relevance, Your Honor." "Sustained," Eleanor says evenly. The single word hits like a gavel to the chest. Daniel blinks, thrown off his rhythm. He tries again, pivoting to the falsified police report. The detective's signature appears twice on two different dates. Objection, speculative. Sustained. He feels the walls closing in. Every objection upheld. Every argument clipped short. Lydia, his co-counsel, scribbles frantic notes beside him, but Daniel's focus keeps drifting, not on the case, but on asterisk her star. Is Eleanor protecting her image? Punishing him? Or proving she can't be swayed? He catches himself stealing glances toward the bench, searching for any flicker of recognition, any trace of the woman who once asked him what justice truly meant. But all he sees is marble resolve. Hours pass. The prosecution weaves its story like a noose, calling witnesses, framing the evidence, painting James Rivera as guilty beyond redemption. Daniel listens, jaw tight, fingers drumming against the table. When it's finally his turn to cross-examine, his pulse roars in his ears. He rises, trying to steady his breathing. "Detective Carson," he says, pacing before the stand. "You testified you arrived at the scene at 9:15 p.m., correct?" "Yes." "And you interviewed the witness immediately after?" "That's right." Daniel leans in slightly. "Then can you explain why the report you filed, timestamped 8:52, was already entered into evidence before you claimed to have arrived?" A murmur ripples through the gallery. The prosecutor stands. Objection. Badgering the witness. Eleanor looks up, gaze sharp as a blade. Overruled. The witness will answer. Daniel's heart stutters. She overruled. The detective fumbles. That must be a clerical error. Daniel presses. A clerical error that conveniently establishes guilt before you even reach the scene. Eleanor's pen pauses midair. The courtroom holds its breath. The detective looks cornered. I can't explain that." Eleanor tilts her head. "Perhaps, detective, you should try." Her tone is calm, but the weight behind it is unmistakable. She isn't helping Daniel, she's cutting straight to the truth. For the first time, Daniel sees it clearly. She's not the enemy, and she's not his ally. She's the balance between them. During recess, Daniel escapes into the hallway, the tension still buzzing under his skin. The air smells faintly of rain drifting through an open window. He's halfway to the water fountain when he hears her voice behind him. "I hope you're arguing your case, Mr. Foster," Eleanor says quietly, "not the one you think I want to hear." He turns. She stands just a few feet away, robes draped like armor, eyes steady but not unkind. Daniel's throat tightens. I wasn't sure what you wanted." "That's the problem." Her tone softens. "Stop trying to read people's minds. Read the evidence. It speaks louder." Then she walks away, leaving him frozen in the corridor, his heart pounding. He realizes she's right, he's been chasing approval, not justice. He looks down at his notes, then back toward the courtroom doors. The truth isn't just in the files, it's in his conviction to fight for it. As he steps forward to return to the trial, the courthouse lights flicker, and his phone buzzes in his pocket. A message from an unknown number. "You're not the only one who found out about the judge." The courtroom hums with quiet anticipation. Rain taps gently against the high windows, the same sound that started it all. Daniel Foster stands before the bench, eyes clear now, hands steady. The storm inside him has finally gone still. He's no longer thinking about her, the neighbor with the tea and the sharp questions. No longer thinking about what she might think of him. He's thinking about James Rivera the man who spent 8 years waiting for someone to believe him. Daniel exhales slowly. "Your Honor," he begins, voice calm but charged with conviction, "this case isn't just about evidence. It's about the failure to look at that evidence honestly. A man's freedom was stolen because the truth was inconvenient." He lays out the pieces, one by one, deliberate, unflinching. The coerced testimony. The missing footage. The falsified reports. The detective's contradictions now exposed for everyone to see. As he speaks, the courtroom leans forward. Even the prosecutor falls silent. Daniel doesn't pace or perform. He pleads, not for sympathy, but for fairness. His voice trembles once, when he mentions Rivera's mother, who never stopped writing letters to the court. Then it steadies again, anchored by purpose. When he finishes, the silence is absolute. Eleanor Walsh's gaze lingers on him. Her expression unreadable, yet there's a glint of something behind the restraint, pride, maybe sorrow. She looks down at the file before her, then back up. The court, she says finally, acknowledges the serious procedural misconduct in the original investigation. The defense has presented credible evidence that warrants further review. The conviction of James Rivera is hereby vacated. The defendant is to be released on bail pending retrial. A collective gasp ripples through the room. Rivera slumps in his seat, tears welling. Daniel just stands there, stunned, the words hanging in the air like a promise fulfilled. He turns toward Eleanor, their eyes meet for one long, unguarded moment. Then she rises and leaves the bench. The corridors are empty now. Most of the press has scattered. Daniel lingers near the courtroom door, briefcase hanging loosely at his side, unsure whether to feel relief or confusion. A clerk appears. Judge Walsh would like to see you in chambers. He nods, heart kicking up again. Inside, her office is lined with books and quiet authority, the scent of old paper and rain-soaked air. Eleanor stands by the window, still in her robes, but her tone is softer than it's been in weeks. I never lied to you, Daniel, she says. He blinks. You didn't tell me who you were. I didn't have to. You assumed. Her eyes meet his, steady and kind. You thought I was someone ordinary. That's when I got to see who you are when no one important was watching. And that told me everything I needed to know about your integrity. Daniel swallows hard, emotion rising in his chest. So all this time, you were testing me? She shakes her head lightly. I was seeing you. The law can't always tell who deserves its mercy. But character? That shows itself in small acts, soup on a rainy night, listening when no one else will. He nods slowly, the weight of the moment settling between them. You cared. I did, she admits. But I also had to be fair. I couldn't give you an inch more than you earned. He smiles faintly. I noticed. She smirks. Next time you have a case in my courtroom, though, you'd better believe I'll be twice as hard on you. No favoritism. Daniel grins. I wouldn't want it any other way, Eleanor. As he steps out into the rain, the courthouse looms behind him, gray stone against silver skies. But it doesn't feel oppressive anymore. It feels honest. Justice, he realizes, isn't about winning or losing. It's about seeing. About standing firm even when the world blurs around you. He glances once more at the building, rain sliding down his coat, and smiles to himself. Justice was blind after all. But maybe, just maybe, in the best possible way.